Well, it is decider day here in the 2022 Formula Challenge Series, not just for who's going to be the champion, but for those that are going to work their way into the relegation and promotion races in just a week's time. It's been a thrilling season of which Risto Capet has taken the last 2 victories, and he is leading the championship. It's been a thrilling ride of strategy, of pace, and of future superstars trying to prove their name, and we've been trying to prove ours as well. I'm Lewis McGlade, Justin Sutton's alongside me in the commentary booth, and we've had a lot of fun in this. Obviously, the last race on the tight and twisty streets of the Circuit d'Azur were a little bit tight, and we still had a fair bit of racing. But over the season, every race has just been enthralling, entertaining, and very, very interesting.
Yeah, 5 for 5 as far as I'm concerned, with 4 different winners as well. It took until round number 5 before we got a repeat winner, and it really has been all about Risto Capet in the second half of the season so far. But one more race still to run. He's in the lead of the championship for whatever that's worth. We'll see if he can pull it out today. I hear, though, it's going to be more difficult to do a no-stopper, so we'll see if that strategy will work for him.
Yeah, no stop has been the talk of the season thus far on the strategy side of things. It was very prevalent last round out. We went racing around the streets of the Circuit d'Azur, and let's take a look at highlights from that race. 45 minutes onto the clock. The Formula Challenge Series is getting ready for its penultimate round here at the Circuit d'Azur as we are underway, racing our way towards turn 1. Plenty of smoke from a lot of drivers after a very long hold, but a clean launch from Risto Capet. He'll be leading from Mattia Krupi, bit of side-by-side as Paul Auguste Lana loses out to Christian Mikel. Philip Dries is being distracted a little bit by this smoke coming off the rear end of Mattia Krupi's car. First retirement here at the Circuit d'Azur. Let's see what's happened as Darius Andre racing his way down to the Nivelle chicane. Oh my goodness. That is so easy to do. It's quite difficult to pass. First corner's not really a good one because it's too light on the brakes, but up towards Massenade, this might be the opportunity for Jimmy Nisseler, who's just gone into the back. This is going to be a big crash. It's going to be a very big crash if they're not careful. For Joseph Herlock, moves his way up. Bit of smoke coming out of Eros Mashuli's car, which certainly wouldn't be ideal. Half hour into the race. Mattia Krupi's engine's gone. Mattia Krupi's engine's gone right in front of Turka Hakkinen as well as Christian Mikel comes through. And look at this from, oh my goodness, Paul Auguste Lana. After the damage has been assisted, here comes Christian Mikel. Oh my goodness, the championship leader trying to make something stick around the outside of Paul Auguste Lana. Taps the inside wall coming through Casino, and all of that talk we were having earlier is complete rubbish because Christian Mikel, he is charging. He looks to the inside of the head, but it's going to be way too tight. Potentially makes contact with the Volante racing car around the outside and heavily into the barrier. Christian Mikel is lucky to still be in the race, but he's still on the attack. He's settling not for 4th, but for 3rd. To the outside of the tunnel, around the outside he goes, makes it stick before they head into the braking zone of the Nivelle chicane, as it is carnage at the back end of the top 10. But what does Thomas Bach do as they close their way up into the swimming pool section? We'll take a look at a replay. There was a moment up ahead with one of the back markers, not sure which one that was, and Risto Capet, the Estonian, departs the final corner to take victory here at the Circuit d'Azur. It's Risto Capet once again in Formula Challenge as he'll take over the top of the standings. Risto Capet then would win the race ahead of Philip Dries and Christian Mikel on the podium. Yeah, even sometimes people think that the streets of the Circuit d'Azur can't deliver a good race. Bring Formula Challenge along, and well, we always deal with some form of excitement, like say edge of the seat stuff. And a great race from Risto Capet, back-to-back victories. He's looking very, very strong now with a 2-point lead in the standings.
Yeah, it was a difficult race last time out 2 weeks ago for the penultimate round, but Risto Capet has done an incredible job all season long of keeping his cool, even when things weren't really going his way. And now that things are going his way, he seems pretty unstoppable. We'll see if Laguna Seca ends up being a happy hunting ground for him, whether or not. We're going to find out very shortly, in fact. But yeah, it's been going really, really well since the second half of the season, hasn't it?
Yeah, he's been in top form. Obviously, we're talking about a season which has been before. If you haven't joined us for any of the 5 rounds of the season so far, you're just joining us for the season finale. This is how it works. So the 2022 Formula Challenge Series explained. The series will feature some of the very best drivers and teams on the R-Factor 2 competition system across 6 rounds of frantic racing. We started the season at Spa before we moved over to Italy with the Circuit Monza, then to the Daytona Road Course to end the first half of the season, Donington Park, and then last round out we went to the Circuit d'Azur before we finish our season here at the Laguna Seca Raceway. All fighting for promotion at the end of the season. The top top 3 in the championship will go to a promotion relegation race just after this. Every round will feature a 15-minute qualifying session to set the grid and a 45-minute race with no mandatory pit stops. Dynamic weather, track rubber and full damage simulation will be in full effect. Cars enter Parc Ferme after qualifying. They can make limited changes to the lights of the front wing to make it a bit more comfortable on race settings. They have 45 seconds of push to pass to use throughout the course of the race, and race control will monitor the action and provide penalties where required. And race control have had to step in a fair few times, Justin, over the season so far. But I've got to say, for the most part, at the front, I think we've had a pretty clean, a good season, a respectful season between a lot of our top competitors.
It's been really clean, especially impressive when you consider the fact that these are people that don't necessarily know each other. I mean, some of them, yes, are Factor 2 veterans. They will have raced with a lot of people that they're going to come across during the course of this season. But A, you're not guaranteed to get in to the next race. And B, you don't know who else is going to be there. So it just makes things really, really exciting and interesting. But at the same time, the drivers have responded with some very mature driving, some incredible overtaking as well, and minimal retirements this season.
Yeah, and with it being the last round of the season, you know that a lot of the drivers on the grid will think that now's my chance to step towards the front of the season. You know, they've got had 5 rounds to get used to this car that we'll be racing in. Of course, we know it, you know it. This is the Formula Challenge car for 2022. Very similar to the Formula Pro car with the same level of downforce with a couple of small changes, including reducing it down to 600 brake horsepower from that V10, revving all the way up to 18,000 revs per minute. Push to pass, said before, it's the 45 seconds of push to pass, which will send them all the way up to 190 miles an hour, down to the Andretti hairpin around here, more likely to be around the 175 to 180 on the 600 kilogram car. Absolutely no DRS, none of that, just the push to pass to aid them with overtakes. Ground effect from the cars to reduce the dirty air and keep them sucked to the road, meaning that cars from behind can follow much, much closer. Custom setups will be in effect, of course, as they can make the car as comfortable as possible for each of the driving styles. They have shift protection so they don't blow up the engines, although we did see plenty of that back at the Circuit d'Azur on the 7-speed gearbox, 4 tyre compounds, soft, medium, hard, and then the wet tyre compound, which I don't think will be seen used today. An updated tyre degradation, which will be the talk of the town around such a difficult circuit. The WeatherTech Laguna Seca is one of those ones that does like to burn the front right tyre. There's a lot of left-handers around here.
Yeah, it certainly is a counterclockwise circuit, but you're exactly right. I don't think we're going to be seeing that wet weather compound coming out today because, of course, we are in the desert. So, not likely to be seeing any sort of precipitation.
Yeah, it's pretty dry out in the desert. When it comes to overtakes, though, around here, now we've spoken time and time again about strategy, how this is probably more a one-stop race. A couple of drivers, I'm going to assume that Risto Capit might try a no-stop race. He's not stopped at all this season. But it's kind of one of those ones where we know you can actually overtake around here. That final corner all the way down through the first kink and then down to the Andretti hairpin. It's a good overtaking opportunity.
It is. And yeah, it's incredible that Risto is using the same tires that he started with in Spa. Hasn't changed them all season long. They're his lucky tires, you know. I would say that's definitely the main overtaking location, especially because, you're coming out of that slow final corner. Turn 11 is not super fast. So, and you might even be able to get alongside, get up the inside. And then if you can't get the move done there at turn 11, you could do it into that Andretti hairpin as you come out of that final corner. You can get the inside line, just a little bit of overspeed. Use that push to pass as well, too, because, of course, it's not a set amount of time for the deployment either. You can deploy it for half a second. You can deploy it for 2.5 seconds. You can, it's really up to you. So that's going to be the primary overtaking location. But I expect we'll see battling pretty much all throughout the circuit. The main place that people might be scared, turn 6, it's a little high speed, and into the corkscrew as well, obviously. Certainly I would be nervous about going side by side into there.
Yeah, 6 is such a tricky corner. Let's take a look at the circuit that we'll be racing at today. I think it's, some of the corners around here go without saying, like turn 8, of course, being the corkscrew. It's one of those ones that's an iconic feature of motorsport. We recognise that picture from all over the place. It's such an iconic section. The corner after it, though, turn 9, the rainy curve. Like you said, turn 6, incredibly difficult. That race down towards turn 2. Yes, I know it's turn 1, but it's turn 2. The Andretti hairpin. You've got a good overtaking opportunity there. Into turn 5 as well. I think these cars might be a little bit too quick for a good overtake into T5, but you can sometimes carry the momentum off of 4, especially if there's a mistake from the car ahead. And then you can always give it a good, cheeky little dive on the inside of turn 11, the final corner of the circuit.
Yeah, I think it's part of it as well is going to come down to where they're battling. You know, I think an overtake into 5 is possible if somebody's already battling coming out of 4, and certainly if you don't get you couldn't quite get the job done through turn 2, you know, you got a few corners coming up that'll help.
Yeah, and I think track position, whilst we're speaking of overtakes and how it is very much possible to do so, I think track position in qualifying is going to be very, very critical here. Not quite as important as it was 2 weeks ago at the Circuit d'Azur, but to the same level of importance that it was back in Donington Park. These two will potentially race fairly similar to a certain degree, although the tyre wear around is a little bit higher.
Yeah, it's going to make things difficult, especially for those that are looking to zero stop it, Risto cap it at all. And I'm sure there are others as well that are probably going to look to follow in his footsteps in that regard. But that it could mean that those that are running a one-stop strategy, it could actually be quite beneficial to them. So, and that could make for overtakes as well. If we have a nice split of some people running no stops, some people running one stops, then that could force a lot of overtakes on track.
Well, you can see here, live pictures, qualifying is underway for the very final race of 2022. Here's one of the drivers that's looking to hang on to a position inside the top 3 in the standings. This one's being Philip Dryce at the moment in that number 35. Presently 3rd in the standings for the NeedRacing.com team, directly behind Christian McCoy, who's a driver who's expected to team up with, should all things go well, for next season, be it of Formula Pro or maybe another season in Formula Challenge. We'll have to wait and see. A driver that has won a race, of course, this season, back in Daytona as well.
Yeah, hasn't looked quite as strong in the second half of the season, but looking to finish strong, obviously. Wants a solid result here at Laguna Seca, which is a pretty recent addition to R Factor 2. Lovely variation, iteration of it as well. And there is Philip Dryce just making his way out of that final corner. So this is going to be that long, flat-out section. It's not really a straight, so I'm hesitant to call it a straight, especially with the amount of turning that you're doing and the amount of elevation change as well. But that is the Andretti hairpin as Philip just making his way through. It is a pretty heavy braking zone, but it's also a long corner. It's almost like a reverse love field. So it's very difficult to go around the outside. So I imagine most people will be defending that inside line coming into turn 2.
Yeah, when you've got one major overtaking opportunity, it's kind of easy to cover it off because you understand what to do. Just hold the inside line and hope for the best. This is a driver whose previous couple of qualifyings obviously started from the front row at Daytona. The previous round of the season started from 3rd position at Donington Park. Just before that, qualified in 6th place. So a driver who's had very consistent qualifyings over the last 3 rounds could definitely do with one of those, whilst he is sat in 3rd position in the championship. Realistically, the next driver behind is Stepkowski. Now, Stepkowski is 36 points, which coincidentally is the points for a race victory. So if Philip Dryce was to retire from this race, and Stepkowski to go on to win, then, depending on countback and stuff, then something might switch on that side, but that'll be something which will be dealt with if we get to it.
Very short lap, which of course means that the deltas from one driver to another should be significantly smaller than what we've seen all season long, even comparing to Circuit d'Azur that we had a couple of weeks ago, is Turkka Hakkinen going quickest of all, a 101.42. I mean, it's a 61-second lap. It's extremely short. I don't think we would be seeing a massive reduction below that, but could we see possibly a 1 minute flat, I wonder?
Well, potentially. I think it's a bit tricky to kind of say. I'd say the idea of them getting into the, like I say, 1 minute something might well be possible. And if there's a driver that might do it, it might be this driver. Someone who's had pole position in the previous races, won the previous 2, and as qualifying consistency goes, has been right up there. Only one real blemish on the record being that of the Daytona qualifying session, qualifying outside of the top 10. Outside of that, I mean, it's what you expect from Risto Capit, the Estonian. I mean, he is the Iceman. Absolutely cool every single time he gets behind the wheel. He knows what he's doing.
Pixel perfect placement when it comes to running on these curbs. Oh, that turn 5 exit, not quite using as much as some of the other corners, but through 3 and 4 really was just exactly on it for Risto Capit, and exactly placing the car where it exactly needs to be. And he is purple in the first sector, descending down the hill now from the corkscrew into the final couple of corners. Here's turn 10. Yeah, this is looking like a very quick lap.
Yeah, got to remember that Risto Capit, as much as he might well be fairly secured in the idea of getting into the promotion relegation race, he wants to win this championship. He wants to be the Season 2 champion of Formula Challenge, and that is one way to do it, by scoring a 101.2. So he's getting quite close to getting below the 101 barrier. Whether they'll be able to do it or not, that lap looked pretty tidy to me. I'm not sure if there's another couple of attempts in it, but Risto Capit onto the provisional pole position. Christian Mikel directly behind, with Turka Hacken and Philip Dries, and Jukka-Pekka Lalu in 5th position.
I mean, the other thing about such a short lap is finding 2/10 around a 61-second lap is a lot harder than it is around a 90-second lap. So it's going to be very, very difficult. And yeah, I do wonder if we'll see anything below the 101, because that was a really tidy looking lap as well too. Certainly it would be a bit silly for me to critique it, because certainly I could not do any better. There was a couple of small areas, but yeah, I don't think they're worth very much. But Jimmy Nisula, he was somebody that had a difficult time last time out at Circuit de Azur. He had that incident that we saw in the highlights earlier on. So he'll be looking for a cleaner race certainly today, if nothing else.
Yes, indeed. Like you say, just got into the walls a little bit, into the rear end of one of the Super Venturis coming up towards Massenet. Like I say, just one of those rounds to forget. Now, that's fine. You're allowed to have the odd 1 or 2 rounds where it's just like everything goes wrong. It's about how you pick yourself back up again and focus your attention on the road ahead. And Yumi Nisula coming up towards turn 6 right behind another one of the cars doing a little bit of slipstream. I think that might be Rory McDuff, because I know sometimes he does pick an odd livery, but that is getting right in the way. I tell you, it's probably not Rory McDuff, because it's just right in the middle of the road for Yumi Nisula, and he is going to lose an awful lot of time. A bit naughty there.
Yeah, I mean, it must be a car that's on a lap. Certainly, if you're on a quick one, you're under no obligation to get out of the way. But we'll see. Yeah, that car does indeed continue on. Eli Binsbergen, or Yellow Binsbergen, as I like to call him now.
He was not happy about that chat.
No. Well, hopefully I didn't just ruin his lap by saying that out loud. But it's coming to the end of the lap now for Jean Alesi Esports. It's going to be in the 102s. And it is going to be just shy of the top 10.
Yeah, like I say, just across the line. The John Lacey Esports Academy cars have had a lot of pace this season. I don't think they've had the results they would have really wanted. They started that season with such great form with that victory for Jordi's Veers. But outside of that, yeah, we've had flashes for Matty Creepy. We had flashes from his engine last round, but that was unfortunately when it went pop. Matty Creepy then out of the final corner, looking a lot better in the sectors. Might get himself up inside the front row of the grid. Across the lines, only good enough for 4th, but he's in the hunt.
Yeah, that is a very quick time for Mattia Krupi, who still, I think, has my favorite overtake of the entire season so far at Donington. Or was that a double overtake? I can't remember now, but really enjoyable stuff. And there is Daniel Stepkowski, who, again, we believe is literally 0 points shy of being eligible for 3rd position. Based on our estimations and maths and everything like that, because we do believe, if it comes down to countback, that he would not end up coming ahead on that one. So, but he's still looking to, obviously, to have a great race here today.
I mean, yeah, this is the thing, is that regardless whether you can or can't, you want to prove yourself, because you know this is a team thing, right? This is a team sport. We've said this before when it comes to Formula Pro, is that it's based on the team, not like it is in GT Pro, where it's about the drivers specifically, and the relegation is about drivers. This is about teams, etc., etc. And so, you know, if you're proving yourself, hey, another team might look at you and think, hang on a second, we could do with another driver, and you're looking pretty quick. You won the last race of the season. You could get yourself at least in the shop window, at least being picked up from another team from any point of view. Now, you can see Turka Hakkinen coming across the line here, set a great first sector, but the reason why the second sector wasn't being timed is because he had a cut in it. I can only assume that would have been through the corkscrew. So that lap time gets thrown into the bin, and we can say never mind to that one.
Yeah, because if you cut or run wide through 6, for example, I'm pretty sure you're going to have a really bad time. So yeah, it may have been something small at the corkscrew, which is a much slower speed corner. It's easier to have a little cut without completely destroying the car that you're driving. So Risto Capit back out on circuit, clearly not feeling entirely comfortable. Christian Mikel, the only person, or the next closest person, But there are a few drivers, Mikael, Hakkinen, and Krupi, all within a quarter of a second. So very, very close for that top time. But Risto Capit out there once more, 6 minutes remaining in qualifying.
So dominant so far, though. Like you say, a 2 tenths clear at the moment. This lap is certainly not looking as fast, having dropped a couple of tenths in the first sector and a couple of tenths in the... Well, that'll be another couple of tenths in the final sector. Why not? Because he completely missed the final apex. As he'll race his way towards the line, it'll still be a 101.9. But alas, that is not a great time. It'll still get him inside the top 15. But, well, you know, like I say, sometimes you've just got to give it a go. Jukka-Pekka Lally then for Super Venturi to start another lap as he heads through the first corner and down towards the Andretti hairpin. It's quite a tricky corner, the Andretti hairpin, because you want to line yourself up for that second apex, but you can't just ignore the first one. You've got to commit to both of them, but it's a little bit awkward and sort of in the middle.
Which is a great way to describe this track. Oh, okay, here we go. We're going to get a replay of what exactly happened to Turkka Hakkinen. And here he is coming up into the corkscrew.
And, taking way too early.
Yeah, you can already see.
Whoa, the lock.
Yeah, look at that. So much lock. He takes lots of curve there. It's one of the slowest parts on the circuit, so you can take a lot of curve there. But you can see, yeah, Jukka-Pekka Lally just showing us exactly what a normal line kind of looks through there. I'd say that was maybe half a meter or so further from the apex, or further from the inside of the corner. Oh, that's not the best way to run down towards turn 11, though.
No, it isn't. He'll come out of the final corner though, looking for any sort of improvement. I don't think he's going to get one in that Super Venturi. We'll see what it is across the line. It's 101.677, so no improvement. But considering he only lost 0.004 of a second in the final sector, despite dropping 2 wheels into the dirt on the exit of the penultimate corner of the track, I'm going to assume there's quite a bit more time in that for Jukka-Pekka Lally. Same for Mattia Krupi. He'll be heading straight his way into pit lane, trying not to do a Romain Grosjean and going straight into the barrier there.
So one of the nice parts about if you're going to run wide at this penultimate corner, at least it sends you directly into the pit lane. It's very conveniently placed in that regard. And with 4 minutes remaining, I think he can get back out there. Again, ultra short lap, so cars that are still in the pits, I think, can get back out there and still set one more final time.
Yes, I do believe so, provided they've got enough patience with the session and enough time to find out there. Whether Risto Capit will be seen back out on the race circuit is yet to be seen. He's got such a dominant stranglehold on this session at the moment. Stepkowski then will start his potentially final lap of this session as he races his way down that first kink. You see how much he was cutting the inside there just to try and extend as much as possible. The Cetres Nita Velix driver of Christian Mikael, 2 points off of the championship leader, while he needs to find 2 tenths in this session at the moment. And I don't know, from what we've seen of him, it looks like he's been driving very clean. And also remember that this is the last drive that Christian Mikael will be doing for the Cetres Nita Velix team. So we'll have to wait and see where he's going to end up in the future.
Very nice first sector time. Certainly, it's in the right sort of area. Unfortunately for him, not purple just yet as he powers his way up the hill and into the corkscrew now and takes the curbing, but avoids that yellow curbing at the inside there. Nicely through turn 10 coming up here on the right-hander. Somebody just off the circuit there, but I don't think that would have slowed him down. He's lost a couple of tenths, though, in the middle sector, hasn't he?
Yeah, just not a great run up towards the line from Christian Mikael. I don't think there's going to be any form of improvement as he sets a 101.545. Found time in the first and third, but obviously lost a lot in the second. We'll take a replay on board with Tomasz back at the final corner. Oh, lock in the rears. Wow, that was a bit of a moment, and that is frustrating. Whether you're starting a lap or finishing a lap, that is extremely frustrating. So you think, oh, for goodness sake, that's a lap in the bin.
Yeah. Unfortunately, no recovering that. You're going to be a tenth or two down even before you get to the Andretti hairpin. So, yeah, I totally understand the frustrations there. Final couple of minutes for qualifying still to run. Oh, as Julian running a little bit wide there. That was through turn 4, but thankfully nobody else going to be involved in that one. Here's Philip Dries making his way to the line for the final time. This will be his final attempt, looking to get himself into that top 5, maybe even onto the front row.
Yeah, whether they're teammates or not at the moment, I'm sure Philip Dries will want to at least assist Christian Mikel to some degree when it comes to this championship. We'll see what Philip Dries can do, though. He's presently qualified in 6th position. You can see someone on the escape road there of pit lane rolling it down. Will be staying on the inside, though, so it won't be any issue for Philip Dries. It's one of the Musto GT Esports cars. As Philip Dries, a little bit of oversteer on turn in. He's lost a lot of time there on the turn in for T3.
Yeah, he went for an extra bite of the cherry there, and it just did not work out for him. We're gonna see the sector 1 split time. Yeah, 10th and a bit down already.
That's no shock. I mean, you can still rescue a little bit of time because he is 3/10 off of pole, so I'm sure there is more time in it from Philip Dries, who Daytona race winner. We'll see what he does up towards the corkscrew. Hold your breath here as the track just completely falls away. There we go, hooks up that second apex. That looks pretty clean, so there might be some more time to be gained here. We'll see what Philip Dries will do as he heads through the rainy curve up towards the second sector split. So he does gain a little bit of time, but way too wide. Tried throwing it in way too deep. Ooh. And that's one of the effects you do. Blocks pit lane entry. You won't want to do that in the race.
No. And found the concrete barrier as well. So that's going to be some pretty severe damage to the car. Mancini, though, out of the final corner. In 14th position as it stands right now. No, this is an outlap, actually, and he is going to find the line in time.
Yeah, so he has got plenty of time to at least finish this lap time. This has been realistically the last lap time of this session, and we can see what Mancini could do. You can see that just 6/10 off of the pole. Now, I feel a lot of drivers can find a good bit of time towards the end of a session, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, but that looked like it was a suboptimal line coming through T4 up towards 5. You can see he's gained in the first sector, way too much understeer there into 5. I think this lap's gone.
Yeah, that was at least a 10th or 2, running a little bit wide there out of 6, but managing to keep it just about on track. And of course, corkscrew is a super important one. You can find and lose a lot of time through there. And just a few corners remaining for Mancini. We'll get a sector 2 split time momentarily here.
Yeah, it looked okay through the corkscrew, but that lap time really did go from Mancini, and he pushes way too hard, and that will be another car into the barrier. Now, obviously, they won't be pushing so hard through the penultimate corner of the race, penultimate corner of the track during the race, but you've got to say, it's looking like it's a bit of a death trap, though, at the moment.
Yeah, turn 10 is looking terrifying at the moment, and again, the barriers aren't too far away. You get into that dirt. It's not grass, it's not gravel, it's definitely just dirt out there. And it's just going to send you right out into those barriers. Thankfully, again, it is the corner right before the pit entrance, though.
Well, by 2/10 of a second, he's taken 2 consecutive race wins. He takes 2 consecutive pole positions, does Aristo Capit, our championship leader, who's ahead by 2/10 of a second. Christian Mikel directly behind his championship rival. We start alongside in that front row with Turka Hakkinen and Mattia Krupi on row number 2. Stepkowski and Dries behind, as we'll see some of the other drivers on the order. You can see Rory McDuff in 11th, a driver who I think might be aiming for a no-stop strategy. Today, John Lacey Esports Academy were telling me they were pretty confident on their pace with Yellow Binsbergen starting from the likes of 18th position, the 25 car grid being rounded out by Julien Lemoyne, who seemed to struggle a fair amount in that session. But Risto Capit, I mean, he's the talk of the day at the moment. Like I say, if you want to come into a championship finale and really assert your dominance on the field, well, it starts in qualifying, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. He's looking strong. He's looking strong in the championship, and it's in no small part because of those 2 wins that you mentioned.
Yeah, 342 points, 2 clear of Christian Mikel and Philip Dries in 3rd position in the championship. And the reason why we highlight the top 3 here, these are the 3, should they finish in the top 3 of the standings at the end of the night, which mathematically we do believe is impossible for them not to, but the top 3 will make their way through into the relegation promotion race next week. So there's a fair amount on the line to make sure that you stay in that top 3, but also bragging rights to be the Season 2 champion, of course, here in the Formula Challenge Series, of course, following in the footsteps of David Marocek, who's made his way up into Formula Pro.
Yeah, exactly right. And it looks like we don't have too long to wait. They're making their way. That's turn 6, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the grid already making their way into the corkscrew, but not for the final time in this race, but definitely the slowest time in this race.
Now, I'm not going to ask you for a prediction of a champion, a prediction of a race winner, or who our top 3 is going to be. In that sense, that'd be too easy. But I will ask you for a prediction. Is Risto Capit going to make a pit stop?
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say I don't think he will.
No. Fair enough. I also don't think he will. Now, you can see here the way they're coming around, the way they're going to start lining up. You can see already side by side a little bit in the background. We are not gridding up here. Of course, it's one of those traditions when we go racing on American soil. You've got to have a bit of a rolling start. We had one at Daytona, and naturally to finish off the season here at Laguna Seca, we're going to have a bit of a rolling start. And you can see Risto Capit is already getting ready to bolt. He's not bolted yet. It's a bit of a lunge from the field. Risto Capit will start the final race of the season from pole position as we get racing here at Laguna Seca. A bit of three wide as they head through the first corner, but it's Risto Capit leading from Turkka Häkkinen, who's already trying to get to the outside of the Estonian. Christian Mikel has been dived down the inside, though, from Mattia Krupi, who's got himself up into third position. A couple of issues in the back. I think that's Rory McDuff out into the barrier on the exit of the Andretti hairpin, but Risto Capit, our championship leader, is holding out strong. Saw a bit of a movement from the NeedRacing.com car of Philip Dries as well, who's got himself up in a fifth position.
It'll be interesting to see if Turkka Häkkinen is one-stopping, if he's light on fuel, if he's keen to get past Risto Capit as quickly as he can. And I think you're right, it was McDuff that we saw spinning off in the background there. Here's a replay of the start. We're on board with Rory McDuff, who I think is already down a couple of positions on the start, and either a tap from the back end or just losing the rear end under power coming out of that Andretti hairpin.
Yeah, it's quite hard to tell from that angle, but it did look like it's more of a solo drop. Here's Jimmy Nisler right on the rear end of Jukka-Pekka Laulu, and I'm sure he's bored of seeing the back end of a Super Venturi, but he might not have to look at it for too long, because Eros Masciuli looks to the inside coming into the final corner, and Jimmy Nisler's going to be able to hang on, but watch out for Silver Joppa as well, who's going to be over the rear end of Eros Masciuli by the time they get to the braking zone, at the first braking zone on the second corner of the track, as they head down towards the Andretti hairpin.
Yeah, Nisula doing a great job of holding on to that. He got really good traction coming out of that final corner, and that allowed him to just stay ahead on that drag race down towards that first kink before the Andretti hairpin, the official turn one. And Nisula is already going back on the offensive, it looks like, and starting to think about Laulu up ahead. And we're rejoining the battle for second position. Capit has extended the gap to over 1 second. Meanwhile, Christian Mikel still very, very close, 6/10 or so behind Turkka Häkkinen.
Yeah, I'd say if Turkka Häkkinen and Christian Mikel are one-stopping, then Risto Capit probably is as well, based on the speed that he's starting to make movement at the moment. But you've got to control your speed around here. You can't just go full attack. Even if you're one-stopping, you can't just go full attack from the off. The tyres do wear quite significantly around here. Risto Capit will lead from Turkka Häkkinen from Christian Mikel. Philip Dries, though, is trying to find his way past Mattia Krupi as we rejoin this battle down the back end of the top 10. Martin Derlin, Jukka-Pekka Laulu, Jimmy Nisler, and Eros Masciuli, who's looking to the inside going through the first kink, looking to the inside coming down to the Andretti hairpin, and Jimmy Nisler is giving the room to the first apex. He's going to give the room to the second one, kick of oversteer as the Finn leaves the corner. He's going to keep the Italian at bay.
Well defended. I mean, he had a nose up his inside. Masciuli had a nose up the inside, but it wasn't enough, and Jimmy Nisula knew that. He didn't panic. He kept his cool, stuck it around the outside because he knew that was going to give him the inside line for turn 3. And surely he wasn't going to go around the outside of 2 and then the outside around the outside of 3. Dries versus Stepkowski, and on the run into the that was on the run down towards the corkscrew there. Dries in 5th position, Krupi in 4th, Stepkowski in 6th.
Yeah, Stepkowski's trying to find his way through at the moment. We saw as well at the rear end of the train, obviously with how these rounds work is you qualify your way into it, which means that sometimes we do see a couple of new drivers involved in the battling, and there certainly was that battle for 9th and 10th. We'll keep our eye on this battle, though, with Philip Dries looking to the outside of Mattia Krupi, going to send it in into the Andretti hairpin, looking for the up and under. Super move from Philip Dries. Picked that one perfectly on the beautiful up and under of Mattia Krupi. He drove it in a little bit too deep into the Andretti hairpin, and now Daniel Stepkowski sat on the rear end trying to find his way through.
Textbook, absolutely textbook maneuver from Philip Dries there to move himself up into 4th position, and now we can start focusing on that top 3. It's time to see what kind of pace he really truly has, but that is an early contender for overtake of the day. That was incredible. He played him like a fiddle.
Yeah, it was absolutely beautiful as we see them rush their way through the corkscrew once again, picking up a little bit of air as the downforce then pulls you straight back down to planet Earth. And Philip Dries is saying see ya to the battle for 5th, because it seems Mattia Krupi doesn't quite have the pace to keep up with the NeedRacing.com driver at the moment, and is in a little bit too deep into the final corner, the 11th and final one, and Stepkowski might try and do the same thing coming down into that first braking zone in the Andretti hairpin. They pick off the first kink, and Stepkowski looks to the outside, looks to hook it back though, and once again, same mistake, copy and paste, and that's Stepkowski up in a fifth.
Well, Krupe's going to be wondering about Herlock, I think, at this point. It's more than 2 seconds the gap, but I think Herlock was just within view of seeing both of those overtakes by Dries and Stepkowski to get ahead of Krupe. And yeah, Stepkowski really said, anything you can do, I can do better, and did the exact same overtake. He learned from watching him, and yeah, he executed it really well as well. I'm not sure. Could Krupe have some sort of damage from an early race incident or something? Or maybe he's heavy and actually Capit in the top three aren't zero stopping. I'm very surprised about Krupe's pace here.
Yeah, so am I. I mean, we know Matti Krupe's normally pretty fast. Maybe they've switched over to the no-stop strategy, and everyone else, like I say, have gone on to the ones. That we will only know as the race unfolds. One thing is for sure is that he was under a lot of pressure, and he cracked under it. Will Risto Capit do the same? I said that he was the Iceman, where you got Turka Häkkinen directly behind. When we speak of Iceman, that's what we think of. Sido Via out of the race in an enormous crash on the outside of T5, up towards T5.
That is an incredible spectacle to behold. That is, wow, I haven't seen a crash quite like that in quite some time, but well, it's entertaining if nothing else.
Yeah, that was a bit of a sizable. I think 3 cars taken out, and that we've seen retirements from McDuff, from Thomas Vack, from Casper Nizio, as well as a few others in Fidele and Jelle Binsbergen as well, out of this race, as well as I think 4 more retirements. We've seen a lot of retirements in the opening stages of the race. Just 16 drivers left going.
Yeah, Turka Häkkinen, one of those drivers that is still going and is going quite well as he's flown up to the back of Risto Capit. Oh my gosh, I didn't quite mean literally flying up to the back of him, but he did. He very nearly ran into the back of that R8G car up ahead. But I have seen quite a bit of push to pass coming out from Risto Capit, and it seems to me that Häkkinen and Mikel are not deploying quite as much push to pass. And I wonder if Capit is just alleviating some of that extra fuel by using that push to pass. And here goes Eros Mashuli. He's going to go up the inside on Jimmy Nisila, and he's going to do it. No switchbacks this time for Nisila. Eros Mashuli moves himself up into ninth position, and a nice clean move, and good stuff as well from Nisila. You know, no contact between the two of them. Love to see that clean battling.
Yeah, he left the door wide open once again. You can see that train behind as well, closing of Jukka-Pekka Laulu, Mancini, Muzeidis, and a new driver to the championship, Tamaveski, who's joining us for the first time in 2022, at least here in the top split. Of course, there are races happening as well. If you do qualify for this, you don't just go racing if you're only in top split. As Turka Häkkinen drives it in way too deep for the second consecutive time into the final corner, and that is going to give Risto Capit a sweet reprieve as he breaks for turn 1.
I do wonder. I do wonder if Risto Capit is just using that push to pass to maintain the lead for the meantime. Maybe he's only looking to use push to pass for the first half of the race while he's heavy with fuel, maintain that track position, keep his opponents behind, keep Häkkinen basically to a delta, to a delta of his own choosing, a heavy fuel delta. So. Yeah, this is all speculation at this point. We're completely making this stuff up. We have no idea what the fuel levels of these cars are like. But yeah, we're giving it our best shot based on the times that we're seeing, and again, based on the push to pass usage as well.
Yeah, the slipstream will affect you a fair amount around here, but then again, so does dirty air, and it's kind of what keeps it sort of 50-50. So when you do close up to someone, it is genuinely on pace. It's not as if you're just being pulled up to the rear end of them. So Turka Häkkinen is having to put in the work in here, but he'll want to clear Risto Capit because he's going to be burning out his tyres. Here's Muzeidis to the inside of Jukka-Pekka Laulu, going down into the corkscrew. Super move from the Valet Esports driver. Well, they've already lost one driver so far today, have Valet Esports, in that crash that we saw with Sido Via coming up towards T5, but Muzeidis doing a super effort up into 12th.
We had to see it over. Oh, yeah, just in the background there, Lalu's going to lose another position as a result of that wheel spin coming out of that final corner. But I'm really glad we got to see a legitimate overtake at the corkscrew. It's so difficult to make that sort of thing work. So that is quite the treat to get to behold that.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, lovely move from Muzeidis. And I don't know about you, but I've always kind of had this thing where it's like, you put on a really good move and you sat there thinking, I hope they call it on the broadcast. I hope they're just yelling about that, because but it's like it sits with you like, yeah, I'm going to watch that back after the race. You can genuinely get distracted by thinking too much about sitting down and watching the broadcast afterwards, because that could be a fair distraction within the car. I've had that one before a few times myself. Turka Hakkinen, though, no such fears. He's very close on the exit of the final corner, though, so racing down towards the Andretti hairpin might well make a move as Eros Masciuli right over the rear end. Now he's caught up massively quickly to the rear end of Martin Dillon, saying it might well be a one-stop strategy for the Italian. Turka Hakkinen, though, not able to find his way past Risto Capit yet.
And I think Christian Mikel is sitting happily, quite happily, having used the least amount of push to pass out of the top three entirely. And probably the least amount of fuel as well, too. His tires maybe will be getting a little bit overworked. Just a reminder to the viewers at home, again, if you're just tuning in for this final round, if you missed the first 5 rounds, there is ground effect on these cars, which means the dirty air effect is going to be lessened. So that extra thermal intake on the tires will be less of a problem. But just look at the way Turka Hakkinen closes up to the back of Risto Capit through the slowest corners on the circuit. Turn 11 and the corkscrew, the final corner and the corkscrew. He gets so close to the back of Risto Capit, and those are really the 2 places where it matters most. Here we go, more push to pass being deployed. He's going to go for it.
Yeah, Turka Hakkinen's right on the button as he gets to the outside of Risto Capit on the race down towards the Andretti hairpin, commits onto the brakes, looks to the outside, but the Estonian holds the inside line, picks up that second apex nicely, and Risto Capit in that RHE Esports car is able to hang on to the race lead still. I'm going to say, obviously, you said about dirty air and ground effect. Obviously, they can also run their own setups around here, and for me, it does seem as though Turka Hakkinen is running a slightly higher downforce car than our race leader in Risto Capit.
That would make sense why we're seeing the differences, because we get to this part of the circuit, for example, around turn 6 or so, and he's actually quite a ways off the pace, it seems, as that's just traffic getting out of the way. Oh, and Turka Hakkinen thinking about using that traffic to his advantage, going on the offensive into the corkscrew, but in the end wasn't quite close enough to force a move there. And we are getting close to 1/3 race distance. We're still 10 minutes or so away from half distance, so we're not quite into the pit window or anything like that. So still a little bit of time until we find out who is in fact going to be doing any pit stops. And Hakkinen not close enough to think about making a move this time. He's probably just going to have to sit back for this lap and think about where he's going to make his next move. But again, what I noticed while Hakkinen was going on the offensive there, Christian Mikel is again not using any push to pass at all, and is still right behind this leading pair.
Yeah, we'll look to the outside though. Mercedes is trying to get on Jimmy Nisler and gets to the inside coming down to the Andretti hairpin. So there is one extra position picked off from Stavros Mercedes as we head on to Eros Masciuli, a car that I do believe is definitely one stopping this afternoon. The speed that he caught up to the rear end of Martin Dolan, who is absolutely no slouch when it comes to a race car, especially not here on R-Factor 2. And Eros Masciuli was looking to the inside, but it was covered off nicely from the Dane. At the moment to the outside, though, he squeezed off a little bit too much, and Eros Masciuli has to bring himself back onto the road. He's going to keep... Oh, there's contact there with his teammate. See your son. Oh, my goodness. Eros Masciuli and Mancini come into contact, and Mercedes books his ticket past inside the top 10.
And that was the one corner that I mentioned in the pre-race show. That was the one corner that I mentioned you probably don't want to go side by side. Turns 1 through 5, totally fine. Even the corkscrew, we've seen it work out.
Masciuli in a little bit too deep into the penultimate corner of the racetrack, and so Mercedes is going to look for the up and under and try and clear the positions. That is a back marker off the road of Le Moyne, I do believe, off in the background of shots, so I wouldn't worry too much there. Eros Masciuli, they're holding the defensive line as they head to the braking zone of the first braking zone of the circuit down to the Andretti hairpin, but just manages to pinch off Mercedes as this train for 9th position. It's a pretty feisty one. You've got Masciuli, you've got Mercedes, you've got Mancini, you've got Tanoveski. It was Mancini that had a bit of a moment as well. Give me Nisler and Jukka-Pekka Laulu also in this train.
Somehow Mancini has actually managed to hold on to that position despite heading off circuit there very briefly, but he's kept it within 1 second, so I think he's going to be okay. He's got to close back in if he possibly can. But Masciuli on the attack. I tell you, that was a scary moment though for the Musto cars going side by side through turn 6. That was a really scary moment for both of them. I'm surprised that they managed to come out the other side. But here's Mercedes getting very, very close to the back of Masciuli into the final corner. I wonder if he's going to try for something into the Andretti hairpin here.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we've seen Mercedes in split one as well. I'm pretty sure we might have seen him a couple of rounds ago, but either way, doing a stellar performance so far this afternoon. He's not close enough to the back of Eros Masciuli to make a lunge down the inside of the Andretti hairpin, but he certainly is close enough to put under pressure the Italian of Eros Masciuli at present. We've nearly on 15 minutes of this race. Risto Capit, Turkka Hakkinen and Christian Mikel leading, as Stepkowski makes his way past Philip Dries. This is back up to the battle for the race lead. Turkka Hakkinen is the meat in the sandwich, so to speak. Of course, it's got championship bread on it, though, because either side of him, you've got Risto Capit and Christian Mikel both trying to fight their way for the 2022 Formula Challenge Series title.
Stepkowski really heard us earlier say that he needs to win this race to have a chance to get into the top 3, in addition to possibly owning a time machine. And he said challenge accepted, because that is some impressive stuff. And I think he did it on the run towards the corkscrew. I don't know if there was some sort of mistake from Philip Dries that helped to alleviate that, because look at that. It's now almost 2 seconds, the gap between the two of them.
I'm going to take a wild guess that I think Philip Dries either ran wide at T5 or T6. This one's T5. T6 is the next one on that race up towards the corkscrew. It's definitely over this end of the circuit, and I'm going to take a guess that it might have been. So it might have just been a big feisty lunge from Stepkowski, and Dries had to step out of the way. But alas, we do not know right now. What we do know is that Stepkowski is up in the 4th, and they'll be trying to hammer the gap down to Christian Mikel, to Turkka Hakkinen, to Risto Capit. This is back to 9th position because Eros Masciuli has got back up, though. Oh, as he squeezed himself off the circuit as Martin Dillon. It's a big moment, though, and Mercedes has gone for a spin as well. Eros Masciuli's off the road as Taraveski is going to try and find his way up into 8th.
This is getting a bit desperate. Some of this battling isn't ideal. Eros Masciuli taking so much inside curb there through the second half of the corkscrew as well. And just driving a bit chaotic. You can just see it even as he's coming out of the corners. Just the car is just a little bit jittery, and he just doesn't seem to have a ton of confidence in the car, and he's really throwing it into the corners. He really wants that ninth place position. He's going to fly up to the back of Taraveski. He's going to try to go around the outside, potentially a one-stopper versus a no-stopper here. And again, he's going to find himself running into his teammate, and they just cannot seem to get pull apart from each other.
Yeah, these two need to not trip up over each other. Got to say, I think the defence might have been a bit wild from Martin Dolan, but he did move over to the white line. Whether you could say that he moved over and was predictable in his movement, that is up to race control. For me, I kind of think that Eros Masciuli drove onto the dirt trying to get past rather than being pushed necessarily there. Like I say, it was the defensive line that was being taken from Martin Dolan up towards a corner, which isn't really the greatest overtaking opportunity, but each their own on that one. Eros Masciuli finds himself down in 11th. It's kind of one of those things where it might be discretion the better part of valour. Back out of it a little bit and think to make a better overtaking opportunity somewhere else in the circuit.
Yeah, I agree with you with that assessment completely, as Martin Durland using a bit of push to pass. He's trying to defend from Taraveski in that battle for 8th position, or maybe he wants to close up on Joseph Herlock a little bit more, who's had a bit of an up and down kind of season. But the Musto GD Esports cars continue to run in very close proximity to each other. And it's just really getting my heart rate up, to be totally honest. I would love it if that duo would chill down just a little bit.
Yeah, potentially so. Well, speaking of chilling down just a little bit, I saw the gap to Turkka Hakkinen and Risto Capit get to under a 10th of a second as they are running into the final couple of corners of the circuit. I think we can see exactly why, because the top 3, as we rush our way towards the halfway point of this race, are still separated by just a second. Risto Capit, Turkka Hakkinen and Christian Mikel. As we'll take a look on the replay of the race start. Risto Capit having that clean launch, but watched Christian Mikel trying to get to the outside of his old teammate there of Turkka Hakkinen, nearly losing 3rd position. Rory McDuff did have a message from Rory McDuff after this. He said there was no contact on the rear. He just lit up the rear end himself. Let's see what happened with Silver Joffert joining just ahead of one of the Valley Esports cars, and then Cito Vire is going to come through here.
Oh,
that's rough.
Yep, that explains it. So I wondered if there was something like that to cause that incident with Silver Joffert, because I was wondering, because it's such a huge crash and debris flying everywhere, and such closing speed as well too. So much force gone into the impact. So I did wonder what had gone on with that exactly. But yep, that definitely clears it up. And I don't think it was an unsafe rejoin or anything like that. I think it really just was a case of bad luck.
Yeah, like I say, car's out of control, and you could see as well, once the car had come to a stop, he didn't move. Now, some people might say that's the worst thing to do. Yes, it is kind of a blind corner stuff, but you do have yellow flags. It does appear in the top left of the screen when you're driving around, and it was a bit further down here. At that point, he's holding station, because holding station is the most predictable thing that you can do. If you're not moving, then at least, people could be like, oh, there's a car there. I don't have to react to what he's doing. And so for me, I think Silver Dropper was in a really, really bad space. Not trying to blame those that came through as well, because it happened very, very quickly. But it is kind of one of those things where you're like, right, fair enough.
Yeah, as you said, blind curve, there's barriers at the inside of turn 4 that would have blocked the view of the exit of turn 4, where that stationary car was. So, yeah, everybody did the best that they could with the situation that they were given. Is this Tamaveski? Oh, on the move, making the move on Durlin, and then losing the packet, slides his way into 8th position, does it with style.
I'm going to say that Marcus Tamaveski, as well as the likes of Masciuli and Mancini and stuff, I'm going to assume that they're probably on a one-stop strategy. I don't think Martin Durlin is, though. I think Durlin is probably on a no-stop strategy. I know how fast Durlin is. He's won races at such high levels, won championships at such high levels against such great competition. This, to me, is either a very, very off day or a very, very different strategy.
Krupi, by the way, I noticed in that replay of the race start was very, very close to actually coming out of turn 3 in 2nd place. He found that inside line through the hairpin as Hakkinen and Mikkel both went wide, because, of course, Capit had the inside line for the Andretti hairpin. And I think there's an alternate universe where Krupi is driving around in 2nd place right now, basically ahead of Hakkinen and Mikkel. And I definitely feel for him. And I do wonder, again, if he's another one that might be zero stopping, because, again, big delta, big gap between Drace and Krupi, 12 seconds as it stands right now. And actually, we are coming up to the half-distance marker in less than a minute now.
Yep, and we are also approaching the point of having 4 for the race lead, because Stepkovski's been closing in lap on lap up to the rear end of Christian Mikkel, Turkka Hakkinen and Risto Capit. So we might well see a 4-way scrap for it, as the teammate of Eros Mancini that we're looking at now, of course, being Mancini, was getting to the inside there of Martin Durlin, down into the Andretti hairpin, and does make his way up in that Mustang GDE sports car. So Martin Durlin drops down yet another one. I don't think it'll be long before finally Eros Mancini works his way past. I wonder if he'll get he'll drive off into the dirt to do it, though.
He's used it to push the pass. Actually, he wants to do it on the run down towards turn 5. And yeah, I think Durlin is in fact no stopping while these cars around him are probably coming in this lap, maybe the next lap. And there it is. Christian Mikkel is in.
Wow, Christian Mikkel then doing the one-stop strategy. Now, based on the pace between Hakkinen and Capit, then I'm going to say that probably those two are probably on the one-stop as well. Christian Mikkel makes his first pit stop of 2022 in the Formula Challenge Series, as he'll head to the end of pit lane. It is a painful crawl, though. I'll have to wait and see. He's trying to go for the undercut, potentially, trying to hope that his teammates or, the Turkka Hakkinen and Risto Capit, his championship rival, will be coming into the pit lane. Also, instantly the button being used from Herlock Tamaveski and Eros Masciuli as we look at the race leaders. Yeah, lots of push to pass being used by those just outside the top 5, inside the top 10. And this is what happened to Philip Joyce. Yes, we sleuthed it out. We were able to figure out exactly what happened to him without even seeing a replay. I'm so proud of us. We're very good. We're very good. We're just the very best. It's like turn 5 or turn 6, making a mistake out into the dirt. We're all right at this. We're detectives now. We're racing detectives as they complete another lap. Stepkovski came into the pit lane on this rotation of the circuit, so he's going to drop back behind Christian Mikkel, who came out of the pit lane in 6th position. So there's 24 seconds to make up before we can see Risto Capit and Turkka Hakkinen again if they don't pit. Yeah, Christian Mikkel has come out in a really comfortable position with a huge gap up to Mattia Krupi. And I don't think Krupi is going to be stopping, so he should be relatively easy. Tamaveski is another one that's coming into the pits I just saw. Yes, so pit lane getting quite busy, and a reminder to everyone, it's not like elsewhere in the sim racing world. Contact is most certainly on in the pit lane, and it's one of those things which you get into the rhythm of driving through other people's cars elsewhere, and then you've got to think, actually, I can't do that. I've got to drive around other people's cars and watch out for every hazard in the pit lane, because I've had it before. Contact in the pit lane is literally the worst feeling, because you're sat there thinking, right, I've just lost a whole heap of time and I've worked so hard to do it. Well, the Valet Esports cars, that'll be Mercedes into the pit lane after issues over the last couple of laps, and there is a front wing missing on that Valet Esports car.
There certainly is indeed. That's Dries stationary now in the pit lane. Here's Mancini, though, on the back of Herlock, running very, very close to the back of that car as he comes up to the penultimate corner. Just a couple of one car length, honestly, between the two of them. And there is Philip Dries moving once again. And, of course, he's got to go all the way down to the start, the entrance of turn 3, essentially, exit of turn 2. Which is where that pit lane eventually does come out. And this is Mercedes. This is, yep. And see, that's why I said turn 6 is the absolute worst corner on this track to go side by side, because you cannot cut the inside like that.
Yeah, it's a big sausage curb on the inside there, and it's kind of why, to be perfectly honest, I think Philip Dries might be the luckiest driver on the grid, because he did hit that curb as Risto Capit comes in to make his first pit stop of the season. I think Turkka Häkkinen might be in on the next lap to try and cover off the Estonian that's been to the pit lane. But yes, Philip Dries, who did hit that curb quite hard during this race, and only lost the single position. Well, he could well have been out of the race had he continued on in the same way that Mercedes did. Did Risto Capit just drive straight through the pit lane? He didn't stop.
He sure did.
But I'm confused now.
Yeah, because he's 9 seconds ahead of Christian Mikel. So yeah, he definitely did not stop.
Did he have a drive-through for cutting? Potentially, I don't know. Let's see once again. We're on the ball with Risto Capit.
Oh.
No, I think he got it stopped down in time. Also, you'd only get the speeding in the pit lane, the penalty for doing such, after leaving pit lane. So I'm very confused by that. I think Risto Capit got a drive-through potentially for track excursions.
Interesting. That would be difficult if he is in fact no stopping to have to go in. There's Häkkinen deploying the push to pass. I don't think Häkkinen will be aware of exactly what's gone on with Capit. I'm sure he's going to be very confused. And there goes Capit into the pits again. Yep. So he is not on a zero stop, and he's going to have to go into the pits a second time. That is really going to hurt his race.
That is a championship costing mistake, because Risto Capit now, after that pit stop, will leave the pit lane crucially behind his championship rival of Christian Mikel, who's trying to get past Mattia Creepy now. Look to the outside of the Andretti hairpin, and Christian Mikel is about to take over second position in this race. Bit of a snap of oversteer from Mattia Creepy, but as he picks it up, Christian Mikel up into second position and up into a championship winning position. He needs to outscore Risto Capit by 2 points. The difference between second and eighth is certainly more than that. 33 points for finishing in second position, and it is 20 points for finishing all the way down the order in eighth.
Yep, exactly right. It's looking really good for that guy right there, Christian Mikel, in that well, it's not a one-off livery, because of course he drove it last time out at Circuit d'Azur, but with that thank you livery that he's got on in the Cyberpunk 2077 colors. But yeah, things are looking really good for Christian Mikel's championship at this stage.
Yeah, getting word in our ear that Risto Capit, this driver on screen, is trying to get past Martin Derlin now. Looks to the inside, looks to the outside, looks to the inside once again into the final corner, but gets his nose chopped off a little bit by Martin Derlin. Again, we believe it's for track limits violation, which is an automated system in the game. You'll have 3 track cuts, and then after that point, you will receive a drive-through penalty. We were talking about how they might have done that back in Donington Park, and we didn't see too many fall foul of it. Around here, though, you can be a little bit too lax with it, going through the corkscrew. I think that's what has bitten Risto Capit today.
Was that... I'm not sure who that was, that backmarker, but they were getting really out of the way. They were getting their car dusty. Gotcha. Yeah, thank you. Lemoyne getting right out of the way there, really making sure not to cause any sort of problems for championship contenders, race leaders, all that kind of stuff. But Risto Capit, oh, yeah, Hakkinen into the pits as well. And we'll see where he comes out relative to the other cars. But Risto Capit, he seems really stuck behind Derlin.
Yes, indeed. Let's see if Risto Capit, though, can switch the up and under. Oh, he was so close to the rear end of Martin Derlin once again there. See if Turka Hakkinen will come out in the race lead ahead of Christian Mikel. Risto Capit still unable to find his way through. I am being told, by the way, that it wasn't a drive-through penalty, that he missed his pit box, which, if you don't know how it is in RFX 2, when you come into the pit lane, you will have a red box. It is quite light. It is quite easy to mix. You can change its colour. I tend to go for really bright pink so that you don't miss it. But it is by default, it is a red box, normally with someone in front of it. And from what I am receiving from someone else, we believe he might have just driven through the pit lane and missed his box. I have heard stories of this happening time and time again, but for Risto Capit, I mean, to be honest, I would tell everyone that I cut the track a few too many times, because that is a bit too embarrassing.
yeah, absolutely. Just tell them, oh, I got caught cheating or something. Yeah. And that is an errant front wing that has been dropped, and that is from Lemoyne. He's dropped the front wing right there on the start-finish straight, right around where the finish line is. And that is definitely not going to be helping. But again, Lemoyne down in 15th position. It's not going to have a huge impact on their race. But Risto Capit now looking to the outside. That's how you know things are desperate. Looking to the outside at the Andretti hairpin. Not worked out.
Yeah, he's got a couple of John Lacey Esports Academy drivers to clear right now. Martin Derlin and Joseph Herlock. He looks back to the inside, but obviously that commitment into T4, it's far too fast of a corner. He's trying to nail the exit, though, so we can get to the inside of T5. Martin Derlin's going to hang on. Of course, this is for position, because I don't believe the John Lacey Esports Academy cars are pitting. Risto Capit, though, sweeps around the outside at T5. Beautiful move from the Estonian, who's trying to rescue something from this race as they head back up towards the corkscrew again.
Herlock up next. He can see him. He's right there. It's not a big gap, and then it is a big gap to Drace. So sixth is probably the best that Capit's going to be able to do. You can see him taking different lines there through the final few corners of the lap, just trying to find a way past, show him his nose, see if he can get him to make a little mistake, that sort of thing. But Risto Capit is going to have to get creative as Herlock deploys a little bit of push to pass too, to just try and defend from that position. And that is Lemoyne just coming out of the pits there as well, having replaced their front wing, but will be slowing down in the pit lane to ensure that they're not coming out ahead of this battle or getting involved in that. And that is Stepkowski, I believe, making the move on Krupi.
To the podium, yes, and also coming through there was Philip Dryce as well. As we look back to Risto Capit to the inside, though, of Joseph Herlock, and gets himself up into sixth position. So it's all change at the moment here as we head into 13 minutes left to go. Risto Capit up into sixth place, but Philip Dryce and Stepkowski both clearing Matthew Krupi. I was going to speak about John Lacey Esports Academy. As much as we've said, by the way, they started out the season so great with Jordi Spheres and that victory, we haven't seen them on the podium outside of that first race of the season, which is madness. They've had so much speed, so much potential, and have not shown too much since that first round of the season. Either way, Risto Capit up into sixth position. Turka Hakkinen is the dominant force at the moment with 12.5 minutes left to go in this race. He leads by 7 seconds over Christian Mikel, who's dropping back into the clutches of Daniel Stepkowski.
Yeah, Stepkowski on quite a charge throughout the entirety of this race. Like I said, we mentioned at the beginning that he would need to win just to even have the same amount of points as third place after this race is finished. Never mind countback or anything like that, but he has really taken that seriously, moved himself up into a podium position, and with 12 minutes to go and less than 3 seconds between himself and Mikel, he could be threatening for that second place. Here comes Martin Derlin, by the way, on Herlock up the inside line, and yeah, I think Herlock just wasn't really looking to fight that.
No, like I say, when it comes to teammates and stuff, they've got Anthony Nitzpon, rather, in the ear of all of them, being like, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that, right? And trying to kind of fill in the drivers and give them a little bit of information. But he's having to juggle quite a few drivers, obviously with the John Lacey Esports Academy team, but they're a team that do well on the communication. They're a team that normally race in endurance racing, so they kind of understand the thing of team comes first. And so Herlock in that scenario is like, right, Derlin, you're looking a bit faster than me. Don't get caught up by Jimmy Nisler and this lot behind. Go, run away.
Yeah, and I mean, the less battling that Herlock does, the fresher his tires will be when Jimmy Nisler comes knocking for that 8th place position. So yeah, it just makes sense in that regard. And certainly it seems that Derlin's a little bit quicker. He's pulled a second gap on Herlock since they swapped around. So it definitely makes sense. Here's that battle for 3rd position. Philip Dreiss not giving up on that just yet. Stepkowski now holding on to that 3rd place position and trying to close in on Christian Mikel. Ooh, yeah.
You see Stepkowski ran a little bit wide the penultimate corner there. He's feeling the pressure.
Yeah, he's going to be feeling that for sure. He's got 10 minutes of this to have to soak up. He's deploying a bit of push to pass. Philip Dreiss not feeling the need to defend or to respond with his own push to pass.
Yeah, like you say, maybe saving it up for the final moments of the race. Maybe he's used most of it. That's kind of the questions which only he will have the answer to. They won't know what everyone else has got as well in the race. They just have to hope. And if they're saving it up for the final moments of the race, then they will burn them a little bit later on. But Philip Dreiss trying to grab himself a final podium of the season and make it another podium in 2022. Of course, had a podium back in the Circuit d'Azur, had a podium at Daytona, rather, where he took the victory. Now looking for another one, and he wouldn't want to finish 4th place again. I've always said this before. 4th or 5th, I'm not really too bothered. Both of them are top 5. 4th's almost a little bit more painful than 5th position, because you're just 1 position away from getting onto the podium.
Yep, I know that feel quite well as a Sergio Perez fan. It's something I'm very familiar with. But yeah, less than 10 minutes remaining in this 45-minute race. The final 10 minutes, in fact, of the entire season. And if they were to finish like this, Hakkinen would become the 5th different winner of the season, of an incredible season that we've had so far. A season that has only seen 1 person score back-to-back wins or even duplicate wins, and that is, of course, Risto Capet. And, of course, Risto Capet did look like he was on potentially for a 3rd victory, and a 3rd victory on the trot, no less, if he didn't have that mistake in the pit lane. But he's certainly going to be wondering that. He's going to be saying, what if, when this race is over, I think.
Yeah, unfortunately, at the moment, as things stand, Risto Capet is destined to finish runner-up in the 2022 Formula Challenge Series, because the title would go the way of Christian Mikel at the moment as things stand. But I will say, don't rule everything out just yet, because Christian Mikel is coming under a lot of pressure from Stepkowski and Dreiss as well. Just 1.5 seconds back and 8.5 minutes left to go in this race. This is a bit further down with Joseph Herlock, Jimmy Nisler and Jukka-Pekka Laulu all battling over 8th position, just at the back end of the top 10. And speaking of which, one of them's gone missing from that battle, because goodbye to Joseph Herlock, who has retired from the race, I'm assuming, has a disconnection.
Yeah, that's a pretty sudden one. That's going to move Timoveski up into 12th position, as we see. Oh yeah, and he's already back into the pits. That's really unfortunate, especially for a final race, isn't it? That's brutal.
Was it Herlock who had the disconnection back in Donington, I believe, whilst running in a decent position? It might not have been Donington. It might have been... I can't remember. I'm pretty sure that Herlock's had issues before of a similar degree, as Jimmy Nisler all over the place on the Exeter T3.
Yeah, Jimmy Nisler is he was really feeling the wheel on that one coming out of turn 3, but he did manage to keep everything. Oh, and just look at the way he's having to fight it. It's just so twitchy as it comes out of these even high-speed corners. You know, this is where that downforce is really working quite well through turns 5 and 6 and those sorts of places. So I can only imagine how twitchy and unstable it feels through something like the corkscrew.
Yeah, that's the updated tyre degradation for 2022 working in full effect, isn't it? You know, it feels to me like these tyres have potentially burnt out a little bit. Something in that vein. Not so sure, but either way, he is under a lot of pressure as Jimmy Nisler, because Jukka-Pekka Laulu is right onto the rear end. Jimmy Nisler having to use the push to pass to try and fend off Laulu. This is fin-on-fin action at the moment. Nisler is holding on just about in his satellite racing car.
And I'm sure Jukka-Pekka Laulu would love to pick up this position here. Even more so, he would love to do it legitimately, make an actual overtake rather than just pouncing on a mistake or something like that. If he possibly can.
Disconnection.
Yeah, that's right. And to be honest, by the way, I don't remember if it was, but I do remember that we did have another disconnection. I think it was only 1 or 2 other disconnections all season long. Thankfully, we haven't been hit with that too hard.
No, they've been fairly reliable for the most part, as you'd expect. But either way, Herlock falling foul of some form of issue at the moment. Whilst this battle's going on, by the way, got to say, those second, third and fourth are getting nice and close as well. Christian Mikel just now a second clear of Stepkowski. This is the rear end of that three-way fight, because Philip Dreiss is still on the rear end of Stepkowski. Now, if he wants to help out his future teammate, they team up in other things as well. Well, he's got to make the move pretty soon, and he's looking for it into T5 there. Was that Philip Dreiss getting through on Stepkowski as we cut back to Jukka-Pekka Lali to the inside of Jimi Nisila? Philip Dreiss has got himself up in the third. Now, that'll be a crucial move for Christian Mikel when it comes to relieving the pressure from behind.
I don't think that was into 5. I think it was into 6, if I'm not
that's
mistaken.
What I meant, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
I think that was actually into turn 6, if you can believe it. So I was pretty terrified watching that happen. But Dreiss has done it. Oh, and Stepkowski's lost another position.
Yeah, Stepkowski's, I think, been off the road potentially because he's lost an awful lot of time back to Mattia Creepy. There's Risto Capit also letting him through. What has happened to Stepkowski then? Is he teaming up to some degree of Risto Capit dropping back? But no, he's got a lot of damage. That's a lot of damage. That's a lot of right hand down. So no assistance of friends or whatnot. That is just a pretty sorted car.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, that is so unfortunate. Just clips that inside curb too much. And what was looking like a podium position for Daniel Stepkowski is unfortunately going to be maybe a top 10 if he can wrestle with the damage that car is handling at the moment. Because, it's 10 seconds down to Jimi Nisila. 4.5 minutes. Yeah, maybe 4. Oh, yeah, it's going to be difficult for him to stay in the top 10, I think.
Yeah, that's rough. Like I say, when you're dealing with damage late on in a race, I've had that one before myself where you just make contact with a barrier within the final 5-10 minutes of a race and you're just sat there thinking, really? I mean, like I say, he was just trying to get back into the rear end of Philip Dreiss and just try and follow Philip Dreiss out of the corner and keep up, but he just misjudged it a little bit too much and turned left a little bit too much and found the sausage curb. And so now there shouldn't be any pressure on the shoulders of Christian Mikel, and you can see that the damage for Stepkowski has been too much. He's had to return to pit lane to get repaired.
It's great news for Christian Mikel as well, because, yeah, he really has not had a great second half to this race, has he? He's lost heaps of time to Turkka Häkkinen. We're talking 6 seconds or more, losing lots of time to Philip Dreiss as well. Here's Risto Capit, who I thought was going to be done with overtakes for the day. But here he is. He's coming up to Krupi, and oh, no, they're side by side into turn 6 as well. And he's going to just about do it. I think Krupi really backed out of that one. I think Krupi was being very generous.
Yeah, I've got to say, Risto Capit, though, is recovering every little piece that he can after that costly issue. I think fourth is definitely as good as it's going to get, and fourth is not good enough for the championship. At the moment, it does mean that he'll be losing it by 3 points, because it'll be 33 points to Christian Mikel, and the gap for the points for Risto Capit would be 28, so it'll be 5 points in the swing here. And obviously, Risto Capit has a 2-point lead at the moment, which means that he'll lose the championship by a very, very, very painful 3 points. That is almost where it's just too close. That is the difference between first and second, as I think that's Lemoyne going off the road again.
But of course, Risto Capit is going to be going on to have a chance to get into Formula Pro and everything like that. We should be clear. Just because he's losing out on the championship doesn't mean he's losing out on anything else. And in fact, I think he was, him and Christian Mikel were both solidified for those positions even coming into this. So he's not losing out on his chances when it comes to the Formula Pro. He's just losing out on those bragging rights.
Yes, absolutely. Which, you know, like I say, that's what it is. There's no major prize for winning it, but when you're racing, you want to win the championship, right? Yep. This is why I was kind of thinking about this before. You know, some people are like, oh, well, I don't really care because there's not really anything to gain from this championship. I'm like sat there thinking, yeah, but we've done sim racing for 10 years in championships where there is no prize. It's just the, like you say, the bragging rights, the idea that I've won this championship. That's all it's been in most series, and yet still you fight tooth and nail because the victory of the title means something, and that is the exact same case here. Yes, sure, you still get in the top 3. Yes, sure, you still get the invitation to that promotion relegation race next week. but it's still the important bit of winning the title, which will just be tantalizingly close.
I would say that Formula Challenge is, probably in the top 5 when it comes to R-Factor single-seater esports. It's an incredible grid of, we've got Risto Capit. Never mind everybody else. If Risto Capit shows up, you've got a good group of drivers, even if you've never heard of any of the other cars and drivers that are out there. So, it's an incredible group of drivers. They're all trying to get into Formula Pro. Obviously, they want to get into the next level of single-seater R-Factor 2 esports, no doubt about it. But, still, bragging rights at this level is huge. And I can imagine Risto Capit's going to be pretty bummed about not being able to put 2022 Formula Challenge champion somewhere on his CV.
Also, it's confidence going into the next the relegation promotion. You want to be carrying the most momentum that you possibly can, and a victory here, not only in the race but also in the championship, would certainly go a long way towards that. We are on the penultimate lap of the race, because this battle is not so much of a battle. I don't think Philip Dreiss will attack Christian Mikel too much, but they're 18 seconds off of Turkka Häkkinen, who has run away, the very first winner of race of the season. Obviously a good few months ago now. Turkka Häkkinen is looking dominant once again on American soil.
Must be very surprising for some people to come in and see him racing as like a privateer without a team, and they're wondering, why is this guy who's 19 seconds ahead of everybody else, why is he struggling to find a team or whatever. So we can assure people, Turkka Häkkinen is extremely successful. He's been in a lot of places, done a lot of things, driven a lot of cars. He's been in one of the best accidents I've ever seen in sim racing. I think that was in the GT Challenge or GT Pro at Imola. This is great to see him get this win.
Yep, Turkka Häkkinen then into the final corner. He's picked up the pieces of others' mistakes, but that doesn't matter, because the Finn will come across the line to finish first here in the final round of the Formula Challenge Series. We count the 20 seconds back, though, to Christian Mikel, who will be coming down to the final corner now as we get ready to crown our champion. Dennis Lin says thank you for your service, and what a way to say goodbye to the Cetres Nita team. As out of the final corner, Christian Mikel comes across in second, and that should be enough for the 2022 Formula Challenge Series title. Just 3 points clear of this man here, Risto Capit, who will come across in a dejected 4th place. He knew the title could have been his, but when it all came to the end, it just wasn't enough. One too many mistakes, and I say one too many mistakes, really it was just one mistake over the entire season, but that's all that mattered.
Yeah, Risto Capit's going to be kicking himself about that one, but 4th with this grid with the drive-through penalty, that's a huge achievement.
It's super. It shows the quality of Risto Capit. He'll look to book his place back on to the 2022 Formula Pro grid. Of course, he was teammates with Erhan Yovski last season. R8G could definitely do with a second team in the Formula Pro Series. Jimmy Nisler comes into the pit lane on the final lap of the race, because they would certainly like that. They've got Erhan Yovski, they've got Risto Capit, and obviously recent signings of Marcel Chinchik and Yuri Toman for the R8G squad. They will be looking to book their place, but that is certainly not sorted yet. So we'll have to wait and see a week's time before we get to dealing with that. We'll explain a little bit more a bit later on. But our finishers for the race, Turkka Häkkinen with a super victory. Christian Mikel to be crowned your series champion in 2nd position, with Philip Dreiss in 3rd. Risto Capit in 4th position with Mathieu Creepy, Martin Derlin for the Jean Lacey Esports Academy team on the no-stop, but the only team that really did it this afternoon. Eros Masuli battled his way up to 7th with Jukka-Pekka Lalu. Tamaveski on debut with a 9th place finish, and Mirko Mancini retiring from the race on the last lap of the race for Musto GD Esports. Jimmy Nisler came into the pit lane on the last lap of the race with Andrea Zampini directly behind in 12th. Stepkowski, Lemoyne and Herlock rounding out the top 15, but Herlock retiring from the race quite late, meaning that Mercedes, Fedele, Binsbergen, Valeriano, Cedo, Via all retiring from the race alongside Daniel Brandholm, Joffert, Nizio, of course Thomas Vack, and on the very first lap of this race, Rory McDuff. It was a dramatic race, which perfectly caps off a dramatic season, Justin.
It really does, and it was an incredible season. Really enjoyed it. And yes, also I'm super sad about seeing that Traxion Formula Challenge car spinning off right at the beginning. So I'm sad about Rory McDuff heading off because I love seeing the Traxion colors driving around. But it's been an unbelievable season. It was really a tale of two halves. You had the first half of the season where tons of overtaking, lots of opportunities, whereas the second half of the season, quite a bit tighter, fewer pit stops, that sort of stuff. And, you know, we really got to see drivers that were able to be successful under both circumstances.
Yeah, like we say, we'll hold until we can get those championship standings confirmed. Of course, they are provisional. Race control will still need to make their fair assessment on some of the actions over today. But like we say, we do believe, I'd like to hear a word from Risto Cap on that one, but we do believe it was missing of a pit box rather than a drive-through penalty, which would just be a costly mistake. I mean, like I said, I tell everyone that I cut too many times that it was a drive-through, because missing your pit box is pretty hard, it's pretty harsh, but it is very easy to do, especially if it's quite early. You come around that final corner very, very quickly.
Yeah. It's very sudden. It almost reminds me, it's like a shrunken down version of the Circuit of the Americas pit lane entrance, and you know, very sharp, kind of just over 90-degree left-hand corner coming into that final turn. You know, it's like the Coda final corner, but at 70%, something like that. And yeah, if your pit box is right there as soon as you come in, very easy to miss. Certainly anything can happen.
Well, we'll take a look at highlights from the frantic final race of 2022. From pole position, it was Risto Capit taking that massive launch down into the first corner, with Turga Hakkinen wrestling his way up in the second position from the third place qualifier, covering off his old teammate of Christian Mikel. Down the inside, there you have one of the John Lacey Esports Academy cars. This is on board with Rory McDuff, who qualified at the back end of the top 10, making a little bit of a mistake on the exit of the final corner, first corner, and lighting up the rear end. Silver Joffert with a bit of a mistake coming through turn 4 and launching himself right ahead of the entire contingent behind. Once they all came through behind, a massive crash that would see one of the Valet Esports cars out of the race, along with Cedo Via, side by side with the two Musto GT Esports cars through the turn 6 high bravery corner, which Philip Dries got a little bit wrong and cost him the position to Stepkowski before Eros Vasili was trying to find his way past Martin Derner. It took him a few attempts to get through. Finally he did. Risto Capit, though, the talk of the town of the day, was a drive-through penalty, maybe missing his pit box, but either way, made a trip down pit lane that he did not need to. Christian Mikel with a super move around the outside of Matty Akrupi to grab over second position in the race. He just managed to find his way past, but of course Matty Akrupi on a zero-stop strategy was just trying to hang on to the to-be crowned champion. Julien Lemoyne with a bit of an issue over the round, could not get the pace, could not get the consistency, and struggled throughout as Turka Hakkinen was continuing to lead. A big move from Philip Dries getting past Daniel Stepkowski, who was unsighted into turn 6. He'd run his way out towards the barrier and receive a bit of damage for his troubles. As Risto Capit was on the comeback charge, he managed to get himself up in the 4th, but that was as good as it would get, because Turka Hakkinen would come across the line just ahead of Christian Mikel and Philip Dries as well. And you can see how happy Turka Hakkinen was with that victory, and to be honest, rightfully so.
That's what Yimi Nisila just looked like coming out of corners regularly. I swear his car was that twitchy. But yeah, that was a really enjoyable race. I have to say, I really, really liked that one. A lot of fun seeing Laguna Seca in action, because obviously it's new to R Factor 2. Great to see it getting its first official use in Formula Challenge.
Yeah, and like I say, great to see the competition system as well, which we've seen a whole heap of drivers take part in. Kind of a reminder that all of you sat back at home can jump onto all these circuits with these cars as well. You can go and get the Q2 content pack, which was released. Obviously, it comes with the 2 touring cars that was released, as well as Donington Park, which we raced earlier in the season, Brands Hatch, and then Laguna Seca, which we've raced here. And you can kind of see how great it is when it comes to racing. And obviously, a bit of a reminder that we're racing here in a week's time for Formula Pro and the relegation promotion races as well. We'll talk a little bit more about how you can get involved with the votes. Let's take a look as we'll see how things are going to work in that promotion race. You will control how things work. We'll have a vote which will be done on Twitter. You pick between Imola and Nola for race 1. Then you'll also make the vote for race 2 between the Nürburgring and Silverstone circuits. Of course, Nürburgring Grand Prix and Silverstone Grand Prix. And then for the final race, for that third race, it's a little bit more special, because you'll have to make the vote throughout the Formula Pro race between Indianapolis and Sebring, which will round out the promotion relegation races. 3 races to decide, you helping us decide which circuits we go racing at. You can cast your votes on Twitter, which is open on rFactor2. So head on over there and make a tweet. And whilst you're over there and you've got Twitter open, why not give yourself a little bit of a follow to the Traxion studio. That vote is now live, so you can go and get voting for the first race, which I'm all about. I like getting the audience involved to some degree. I'm sure some of the drivers will be looking at it thinking, well, I need to prepare and get some practice done on both of those circuits.
I'm sure the drivers are more than a little nervous as well, with the fans essentially being in control of what tracks they're racing at. I feel like we're definitely going to see Sebring, just because people want to see the chaos that would bring.
Well, when we've done the relegation before, we've never done it for Formula Pro. We didn't do it last season. It was just a straight-up relegation and promotion. But we have done it before a few times in the GT Pro GT Challenge side of things, and it always causes its fair share of drama there. Let's take a look, though, at the results of the championship. Obviously, very provisional. Race Control still needs to take a look, and confirmation by 3 points. Christian Mikel will take top honours in the 2022 Formula Challenge Season 2, just ahead of Risto Capit. Philip Dryce in 3rd position, and then you can see behind you've got the likes of Turka Hakkinen, Mattia Krupi, Jimi Nisler, Stepkowski, McDuff, etc. That all probably were thinking of other highlights from the season. Turka Hakkinen will certainly highlight today's action. It does mean, though, that the top 3 in the standings, being Christian Mikel, Risto Capit and Philip Dryce, will all be invited to that relegation promotion race in a week's time. They'll bring along a teammate as well to take on the bottom 2 teams from Formula Pro, which will follow straight after the Formula Pro season finale. Gotta love a bit of drama.
Yeah, it's going to make things pretty interesting. And I mean, can you imagine the nerves that those drivers are going to have to face, you know, heading up against the Formula Pro drivers? It's going to be a difficult one for them.
Certainly is. Well, we're going to give you a huge thank you for joining us throughout this fantastic season. It's been an incredible journey, which has seen Christian Mikel take over the top step of the standings. But the journey is not fully complete, because we still have Formula Pro to wrap up. We still have the relegation promotion race to deal with, which will all be in a week's time, with Formula Pro coming once again from here at Laguna Seca. From myself, Liz McGlade, from Justin Sutton, thank you for joining us this season, and goodbye.